Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon where I've been talking about Disney's movies, TV shows, merchandise, and I don't know, theme parks, whatever the case is. If it's related to Disney in any shape or form, then yes, I'll be talking about it, quite obviously. So, okay, I just want to do a fairly quick video here. Well, kind of, I guess. Where I'll be talking about, yes, pregnancy. Well, here's a subject matter I've spoken about in a while. I keep coming back to it at some point. Okay, that's kind of, well, whatever. It was just because of Rapunzel. I know a lot of fan art have been made with her when she's pregnant for some reason. I talk about pregnancy so much at this point, it becomes like a fetish. What's wrong with me? Oh, yeah, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Anyway, even if I want to talk about the animated series, yes, there's some fan art regarding this as well. So again, I really don't understand why there was a need for this specifically, but whatever, I guess. But I just wanted to talk about the in relation to the animated feature. So yes, this was definitely a thing here, folks. And don't take this the wrong way either, because it's pretty normal to be pregnant and wanting to be pregnant. Of course, that in itself doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing per se. Yes, people can appreciate pregnancy and think it's a beautiful thing, which in its own way it is, sure. So rather than looking down on that kind of thing, I'm not saying it's terrible by any means, just for some clarification. So yes, of course, obviously your life would change from here on onward, assuming you want to keep the child and you just want to send it to adoption. I mean, that could be another thing on its own video, sure, but point being, yeah, kids are expensive, obviously. But anyway, I'm getting to sidetrack again here is that would this work with Rapunzel? Would it work? I mean, yes, of course. You could always talk about how this could occur. Having a princess character be pregnant, that whole idea alone, it seems like, well, you can't do that. You can't make a story about that. So it seems kind of maybe for some people it might seem too weird if you do that. Have a princess character that's pregnant of all. She's definitely a pretty popular character, and she has her own fan base, which in itself is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, really, either. And yes, of course, when a woman's pregnant, you do have to keep in mind that the process is difficult on a woman's body, quite obviously, and this can affect the hormones. Yeah, that's like a whole shebang right there. So yes, of course, a woman like this could have her own glow in her own way and whatnot. But the thing is that like I was saying, would this work when it comes to a narrative standpoint? By which I mean, would it make sense? I mean, there's already some questions I want to ask already because, especially when it comes to glowing hair, Elsa, Elsa has the magical powers and Rapunzel has the magical hair. So, yeah. And her biological mother. I have some questions with this character as well. Since she drank the liquid from the thing when she was presented with the flower and then being in the movie with the liquid on her, she has to drink from it. Does this mean her mother, I mean Punch's mother, have these magical abilities as well? That's like the thing is that the movie never addressed this, but I'm going to guess yes because it just seems like it would make sense since that flower thing, she drank it from that, and then the baby would have the magical abilities, of course. So what I'm saying here, what I'm wondering is that would the child, if Rapunzel has had a kid herself, would the child have these magical abilities as well? Because it's embedded into her DNA. So would the child herself or himself would have the same kind of thing? If it's a boy, how would that work out? I mean, with the girl, you can always have the magical hair, I guess. But okay, with the boy, how would that work out? I don't know, the tears maybe, like she did it towards the end of the movie, pretty much. I don't know. There's quite a few different questions here. As I said, there's been fan art where she's pregnant, she was actually kidnapped by the one wicked woman. So I mean, okay, that would have just drastically changed the story, I guess, from the original film. If she was kidnapped while she was pregnant, how does that work out? And I don't know how that makes any sense, really. You think she would have, when I say she, the woman who kidnapped Rapunzel, you think she would have noticed some changes in her body because of this? And I'm confused really. I know some people could say, okay, she just slept with Rapunzel's love interest Eugene, but they didn't really, I guess, like each other right off the bat. That was like a gradual thing as well. Of course, I mean, there's a whole huge age difference as well because he was in someone in his 20s and she turned 18. So for some people, that's gonna be alarming some questions right there because people think that's creepy. And I don't know, that's a thing for some people, I guess. Whatever. That's like something they would talk about as well. I mean, I was like so 18 or over, just whatever to me. But anyway, aside from that, there's of course other speaking of fan art, some other people just make it as if, okay, what if this character took place in a more modern day era? Okay, and she could be pregnant then. I mean, granted, yes, it will be easier now than compared to whatever time period she was actually in the film. So yes, things will be easier now than then. Sure, I know these movies were supposed to be these types of movies are supposed to be a period piece, no pun intended. But there was that, I reckon, I guess. But should there be a story centered around this? And I don't know. I don't know how what any of this makes any sense really. Come to think about it. So how can you make a story out of this with this concept, and how can you make it make sense? Is what I'm wondering. And how can you make it seem suspenseful? How can you make it like there's a conflict without the characters seem like dead weight? Really? Because there could be another major problem is that it would seem that the character is just nothing more than just dead weight. Just that would just make it annoying. When it comes to the plot, really, and you don't want to make it seem contrived, like nothing would happen to her, like plot armor and whatnot. So I don't know how that would make any sense in the grand scheme of things. I guess I don't know. Maybe just me just overthinking a lot of stuff, really, folks. And how would her parents react to this kind of a thing as well? And maybe the mother could have one opinion, and then the father could have a different opinion. How the parents will be involved in their daughter's life? Like, how much is too much? Is what I'm getting. How much is too much, kind of a thing. I don't know. I don't know how this would work out in the grand scheme of things, really. So, would the child, if this is a girl, would the child have lots of hair or something? And what about again? What about if it's the boy? How do you work that into the story somehow? I have no idea. So I don't know. It's just something I just want to bring up for a brief moment here because it's just something I keep seeing quite often when it comes to these types of characters. And yes, I do realize that a lot of parents want a story similar to this anyway. In some ways, I don't know if this actually go through with this. I mean, the kid's gonna be curious. How is this and that and whatnot? How is this possible? How did she become pregnant? Kids gonna be asking very specific questions on how do you address this without making it seem awkward than it already is. It just can come off kind of weird when you think about it. I guess maybe, but I don't know. Maybe they can approach this some kind of way, some kind of fashion, I suppose. And I mean, how do you address this in a movie? How do you address this for a film if you really want to do this kind of thing? I have no idea really. So Rapunzel herself will be a good mother. That's not really up to debate here. That's not what I'm getting at. For sure she will because she does have a strong sense of empathy. She can be sympathetic. She can be understanding. She can be a good listener. So all those good character traits. That's fine. And of course, I'm not doubting that Eugene won't be a good father. I'm not doubting that either. Be a good provider and whatnot and all that jazz. Bring the bread to the table and all that jazz. I'm not really debating that either because they seem likely they will be really good parents. It's just that how do you address this in a movie? If people really want this to be a thing in the movie, of course, would she be pregnant for the entire movie and give birth at the end of the film? Or would it be like halfway? Or maybe just 20 minutes of film? Or what? How do you structure this for the story, really? Would the child have magic abilities, really? I have no idea. So that's the thing you could actually potentially do, I suppose. I mean, I don't know the rules when it comes to his magical abilities because, like I said, he's never addressed really in the film. So, would there be any doctors? I'm not sure there will be, but since it's just going to take place in a very specific time period in the ward, of course, some things will come off more primitive than it is now. forced, or there was that. That's a complication right there. So, okay, I mean, yes, of course, she's gonna need some emotional support because this would be their forced child. Again, assuming they don't only have one. And again, when it comes to the magical abilities, so this does imply that does this mean Rapunzel herself never ages, really, and whatnot? I mean, I don't keep going to magical abilities really in some ways because it is a big part of the movie. I feel like the whole magical abilities could be its own video in some ways, which I guess it could. But just wondering a lot of questions, really. Quite a bit of questions, of course. And yes, of course. I don't think it's a weird subject matter to talk about, really. And yes, of course, there's nothing to be shameful or anything like that. And but yeah, of course, there's nothing inherently wrong with wanting to expand your family, assuming you already start one. And if you start a family and you want to start in a good way, if you feel like this individual is the one for you feel like this woman is the one for you, and you want to spend the rest of your life with her or him or whatever, I guess you could do that, I suppose, if you want, and you want to expand the family. Again, assume you didn't already start one on your own in some kind of way. And of course, when it comes to women delivering babies, they should do that because they want to. They shouldn't be forced to do that. And that's another thing you're going to have to address in the movie. How can you bring this up? It's not some kind of it's tradition, because some religious beliefs that some say to do that. Yes, I'm bringing that up real quick. I'm not going to be too much on this because it's something I've spoken about multiple times already by this point. Well, the religious people believe that you should be fruitful and multiply, and because the book said so, because God said so, that's a logical fallacy when you think about it, because that makes no sense if you actually use critical thinking. I mean, yes, of course, if a woman and her husband, her partner, whoever that is, if they want to have multiple babies, it should be because they want to do it. It should be because they want to do that. It's not. It should be forced upon them or whatnot. Maybe that could be a topic of the movie. It's because they chose to do it. It's not because of some tradition within the family, or it's because society taught them to do, or it's because it's a social norm or whatever, or it's something that the villagers expect them to do. I mean, it's just the whole idea that, of course, you have to continue the bloodline when it comes to, of course, in terms of having another princess, having another queen, and whatnot, and all that jazz. So, anyway, it's just something I want to bring up for a good moment here. So, I guess that'll be for now. So, as always, thanks for watching and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh, yeah, later.